Michelle, how are you?
Great. I heard that question twice, but I'm doing great.
Man, you do not miss a thing. Nothing passes by you. It's amazing. Uzi, how are you?
Doing well. I just saw Elon speaking at the All In Summit.
Oh, he's speaking right now? Or did he
Yes.
finish? He's speaking right now? What the heck?
I mean, that might impact live viewership, but we should go ahead and record anyway.
Wow, that's so funny. Well, um, that's so funny. So on the first space, we had Apple event. In the second space, we had Elon talking. Wonderful. Yeah, I mean, we'll just record it. That's fine. I'll listen to the recording later. Sharon, how are you?
I'm doing well. I hope you guys are well too. Happy to be here.
Good to have you back. All right, Michelle, what should we start with? What is the news of the week?
Well, the news of the week was this afternoon. The very
Hey,
anticipated.
hold on. What's wrong with the audio on YouTube?
Oh, I was gonna say audio was okay on YouTube, but you asked me directly a question.
It's not
Um,
great.
it is fine. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, it's
it's
good.
fine.
Okay, keep calm.
And the Apple announced or told us more about Apple Intelligence and how their new phone is all for it. They named very briefly, like a side note, ChatGPT, because they said that there's a lot of it on device and there's a lot of it on what they say is a private cloud with Apple Silicon and that your phone is going to interact with for and that your phone is going to interact with for stuff that needs a larger model than what can run on your device, but all in a very secure and mentioned something loosely related to OpenAI. So I think there was like lots of talk of them making a huge partnership, and it's just like it's a side note, really. You could have like I think Apple is about to get their ass actually smart Siri, and it's going to be incredible because it's been the same since it came out, basically, and it's well overdue for an update for a
Yeah,
Siri that you're able to talk to, and you
yeah,
fumble your words, you come back, it's able to get to you, and it doesn't
yeah.
just default to like, here's what I found on the web.
Okay,
Like how many times we heard that.
okay. Thank you. Yeah, it is interesting that I noticed that too. I was watching the event, and I noticed that they didn't mention OpenAI or ChatGPT until one small segment towards the end, where they showed ChatGPT after mentioning some other company. Robert, what do you think of Apple not highlighting their partnership with ChatGPT today?
I think that's real interesting. It sort of makes sense. Apple buys a lot of data from various companies. They don't really talk about that, but it was surprising to me. I thought there would be a bigger deal about it. Yeah, what it does, what Apple Intelligence can actually do. It was very muted.
So, what do you make of that? What does that make you think?
Um, they know the average everyday user doesn't care yet, right? And they don't look at Apple that way. They just want to buy an iPhone and use it, and they don't care about how it works or what it does under the cover. They're appealing to the average everyday user. They're not trying to, with this series of announcements, trying to appeal to nerds or developers, right? And I
Yeah,
think the
that
point
makes
got
sense.
across is, there's new things here. Go to town, and you're gonna see them next year. That's the other thing is th- they aren't shipping Apple Intelligence this month. It's coming later than the year, right? Or next year. So
Is that
I
right?
don't.
Apple Intelligence isn't coming out until next year?
It's not coming out this week.
Michelle?
It's not included in iOS 18.1 or whatever.
There's open beta in US English, but that does not mean limited to the US. It's open beta in October.
Yeah, normal people don't do beta, right?
And then the real, like, it's going to ship to everyone Q1.
Yeah.
I see. Hey, Michelle, what about my laptop asked me if I want to download a ChatGPT app last week? What is that about?
Oh, because you're on Mac. They came out a while ago with the native Mac OS laptop, my desktop. Who still has a desktop Mac? But I mean, their desktop OS app that's natively from OpenAI. So I guess you got a great suggestion to install it.
Yeah. Hey, Sharon, what'd you make of the Apple event today? Any observations, any takeaways?
Well, I'm super excited to hear that the new, what are they called? My son has them, those earphones, that they supposedly are supposed to have hearing aid capabilities. I find that highly interesting. So many people that have hearing problems, they don't really feel comfortable wearing these classical hearing aids. So if you can just plug one of those ear pods in and it functions as a hearing aid, that is super fascinating. I really like that idea. But I agree with Robert. I think what I was reading that it won't be here till fall or next year, I guess. But that really fascinated me. Yeah, that would be cool, and it adjusts as you go to the surrounding. I mean, that is just the power of AI. I mean, this is really huge, I find.
Michelle, is Apple using AI to elevate AirPods Pro to be a hearing aid?
I mean, any person that uses advanced compute, sprinkle a little bit of machine learning, and not labeling it as AI is doing a marketing miss right now. Because like everybody, like if you gotta put AI somehow in your press release, is it really some large advanced model? Yeah, of course. And if it was not for the AI crave, they would just like label it as super awesome. And so it's a super plus. Like, yeah, there is really something on the chip that tries to isolate what sounds like a voice and what sounds like a truck passing by, and separating those in the audio stream.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I know? The other thing I noticed with the Apple event is they have a lot of marketing people presenting, uh, which I thought was really interesting. Sharon?
What I find interesting that when you read through the data, what they're writing on their webpage about the hearing aid capability, they really state it's machine learning and not AI. I find that interesting. So Michelle, they're really saying it's machine learning.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that too. Throughout the presentation, they mentioned machine learning more often than artificial intelligence. Yeah, interesting presentation. Sharon, I agree with it though. That presentation about using your Apple AirPods Pro as a hearing aid, that part was really impressive. Um, the fact that they can test your hearing, I believe they said about 1.5 billion in the world have some sort of a hearing impairment, and 80% go through life without realizing that their hearing is impaired. And now, with one click on your phone, you'll be able to test your hearing with different frequencies, and then that will automatically record it in your health app. And as you go from app to app to function to function, your AirPods Pro will adjust the incoming either the music sound or ambient noise to fit your hearing and make it easier for you. It's just like a hearing aid. And they said this will make hearing aids more accessible to the masses because I'm guessing because hearing aids are very expensive. So I thought that part was really, really cool. Robert, you want to talk to that a little bit?
No, I think you nailed it. The hearing aid features are real impressive. Accessibility of hearing. I mean, if you have slight hearing loss, and I do have some slight hearing loss according to tests I've done. You got to go to the doctor and talk them into doing a hearing test, and then figure out what kind of device you're going to get. It's a pain in the ass, and probably expensive for slight hearing loss. These headphones could adjust themselves to really help you out, without going to the doctor, right? Which
Yeah,
makes it
exactly.
open to much more people.
Exactly.
And the
Uzi?
$250, it's not $1,000, right?
Yeah. Uzi?
I didn't watch the conference. I was in the space with you, and then I had a call. I did see though they didn't mention the Apple Vision Pro, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And my perspective on this is, I mean, I'm in my 20s, so I don't care for a $650 AirPods. I mean, it's cool, but I think
No, we're talking about the AirPod Pros, which are $250, right?
Can you explain the $650 AirPods? Because I saw that from the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, Robert.
those are-
Sorry, Robert. Again,
Sorry.
just another reminder. Please raise your hand. Don't interrupt people. Uzi, continue.
Well, just my overall sentiment about Apple is that its future is a biotech-light company. I'm not excited by it like I used to be growing up.
Uzi, what's your question about the AirPods?
So I saw there was a $650 AirPod, and I got a notification about it from the Wall Street Journal. What is that?
There's no $650 AirPod. Robert?
There's a $550 AirPod Max, which is an over-the-ear headphone. It gives you better music quality. The hearing aid features were on the AirPod Pros, which are $250 and small, that go in your ear.
Yeah, just to be clear, Apple did not do a new AirPods Pro. They will ship, and Michelle will explain this in a second, but they will ship a software update to the existing AirPods Pro, AirPods 2 Pro, which is what I have, and add some hearing aid capability to them. Now, they have updated the lower tier ones, which is they introduced AirPods 4, and there's one version cheaper, and then another version with active noise cancellation. But still, even that one is not as good as the AirPods 2 Pro that I have from a year and a half ago. And so I was hoping they would update the AirPods Pro, but we didn't get that this year. Michelle?
No, if we closing the loop on Apple at some point, there's also what they did not talk about, which I have experienced and tested in the iOS 18 beta regarding accessibility, and it's the like mini Neuralink for people that don't have the surgery but are immobilized. I tried it, and you really need to put the phone in a mount so it doesn't move, and you need, like, I almost taped my head to my chair because your head needs to not move, and it's able to do eye tracking. It's amazing. A little cursor moves on the screen, and if I stay on one spot on the screen, a little circle fills up after 2 seconds, and it clicks on the screen. And it's able to give paralyzed people or people with mobility issues the full capabilities of navigating a phone. It's kind of amazing, but I guess there's so much stuff you can put in a presentation. But there's like improvement on on a multitude of accessibility features that are improved in iOS 18.
Michelle, any other AI takeaways from the Apple event?
I mean, really, the ass is going to be really refreshing thing, but the image thing is just catching up to what was available on Android. I mean, we've been hearing from those Android folks for a few months now, almost years. Hey, look what I can do with my Pixel. Look what I can do with my Samsung, and take a picture and remove someone. And then some of it, like some of it was already available, but there's more of it and more seamlessly integrated. And unless they put it right in your face, people are not even aware of the feature we already had. So there's a whole just there's a difference between what's already available and what people are even aware is
Yeah.
already available.
Yeah, I kind of had that feeling throughout the presentation too. I'm like, I thought this was already available already in my phone, and I have the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then the other thing I noted was they went from A16 chip to A18 chip, right? What happened to A17?
In a development cycle, maybe they went into a direction and power efficiency or something was like so bad that they scaled back and went back to the drawing board and scrapped it. It's not like 17 is 13 or a number you would want to like avoid for superstitious reasons. So there's gonna be like
Yeah,
a behind the curtain story of them scrapping 17 and continuing on.
yeah, that's I thought that was unusual. Robert, were you happy with the event?
Mm, not really. I miss Steve Jobs. I miss the massive, really groundbreaking new features. This was muted to me. The visual feature that they showed off, I've had that all summer long on ChatGPT. So I'm not seeing like, oh fuck, a major new feature that I didn't expect, right? And I guess that's Apple now. It's a bigger, older company, slower moving, and it's going to plod along and not be not be a Tesla, for instance. That's really, really bringing major new things to the market.
Uzi, and then Michelle.
I'm curious, like what other, I guess, platforms can they go forward with? I mean, the Apple Vision Pro seems to be a failure, and they exhausted a lot of the MacBook and the iPhone.
Yeah, I wouldn't yet jump on the conclusion that Apple Vision Pro is a failure. Um, it does have some capabilities that are really impressive, but I think the jury is still out whether it's going to be mass adopted. Uzi?
No, I agree. I think the Apple Vision Pro, from what I understand, is the best VR headset on the market. But in terms of, I guess, the ambition they had for it and the scale, and I'm curious about the integration with other platforms. I don't think it hit in the way that people were thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people had some excess expectations, but if you remember the first iPhone, how it was mocked, if you remember the first Apple Watch, how it was mocked, first iPad, how it was mocked, it's TBD. I think the jury's out. Michelle?
I was thinking about your question earlier about what I take out of the event, and one other thing they mentioned briefly, but you compose a text and right on your compose screen, you could select the text and say make it more formal, make it more like it's integrating stuff that we used to jump from one app to another to do in the OS. And that's through of what Robert said about the pictures. And I've seen AI keyboards out there that were, by the way, huge privacy concerns because it's sending what you're typing to their servers. So be careful with those. But now having it integrated in the OS. I could force my friends that use those horrible, like small company AI keyboards to just use the one straight from the OS. Much more secure.
Thank you. And Michelle, thank you very much for keeping me posted about audio quality on YouTube. I appreciate that very much. Yoda and then Sharon.
Yeah, I missed the Apple event. I'm gonna watch that tonight. But you guys are talking about the AirPods. Did they show how they're gonna make AirPods essentially behave like a Jarvis interface?
Nope.
Okay. Sharon?
I have a question for you guys. I do believe that the Apple Vision Pro is going to be playing a very, very important role in the future when you think about the medical field, surgeries, and all of those things. I would love to get your thoughts on that. If Michelle, if you guys have any, any thoughts on how the Apple Vision Pro will be playing a role there, because I think it's very, very important.
Uzi.
Well,
No, go for it, Michelle.
Michelle?
the Apple Vision Pro is in BlackBerry/Windows Phone uncanny valley right now. These failed because you create a platform and you try to attract app developers to not just port their app like Netflix is on the Apple Vision Pro, but like they took Netflix, they slapped it on and say, look, you can, but it's not like it's the most incredible tailor-made app for an AR headset. So there's this push they're trying to make, and it takes 3 years to develop a good app. So the developers have the headset now to play with, and it's going to take years for incredibly valuable apps to come out of it.
Yoda.
So wait, Apple has this device where I could comfortably wear all day in my ear. It could potentially listen to all my conversations in meetings, take notes for me. It could allow me to ask it questions throughout the day, providing huge context windows, but it is not implementing something that allows me to then ask questions, schedule my day like a Jarvis.
They
Uzi.
do. Could I answer that, Yaman? The
Okay.
the AI that they're doing is not equivalent to what ChatGPT's voice features are doing. There's no way to have a multi-sentence conversation with the new Siri yet. Now, next year, do they announce such a thing? God knows. But as of right now, they're being very muted about the AI and taking you from where Siri is today to an improved Siri, and that's the main thing right now. They are not showing off a virtual being or a ability to have a live conversation with an AI, right? They were very muted about that kind of thing, and that's sort of the Apple thing. They don't want to be bleeding edge here because they just don't have the ability to be bleeding edge right now. They cannot do what OpenAI is doing with low latency AI. They don't have that ready yet, and so that's one thing. Vision Pro 2.0 is coming out next week. They didn't talk about that at all. Because there's really not any major new feature that a consumer would care about. This product is for developers. It's pretty clear at this point. The next year they're going to bring a second Vision Pro, and then 18 months later they're going to bring the glasses. And so the second Vision Pro that comes at the end of next year is going to be lighter than the current model. It's going to have more GPU, and it's going to have a much more consumer focused push in the store. For instance, we don't have a fitness service yet. We don't have a whole lot of things to do in the Vision Pro yet. End of the next year, you're going to see a lot of that start to change, from what I'm hearing from inside Apple.
Thank you. Uzi.
Yeah, for Sharon's question about medicine and VR, I think Scoble is probably correct with the developer question. I also wanted to put forth, Palantir and Meta have a partnership, and Meta's relevant because they have the Meta Quest. And I know the military, which is more of a centralized, I guess, it's more of a strict line of duty, where you have these, people like not role playing, but basically role playing war scenarios. And I want to contrast that with medicine, where you have different medical schools which provide the training, and you also have different hospitals, and then doctors are, they like their autonomy. So I would have strong intuition that medicine would progress slower with adoption than something like the military at this point with VR.
Okay. Michelle, anything else on your plate? I know you have to go after the first hour. Anything else on your plate about, let's focus on Apple first.
I mean, this not the seamless Jarvis, I think Yoda was talking about, but they did mention that you can ask Siri, hey, did Josh told me that there was this thing last Friday, or like you're not sure when somebody told you something and you just like ask a very vague question to Siri, and Siri somehow is gonna be able to look through not like email, text messages. They didn't mention specific apps, but like across your data and be able to find this ambiguous question. Also with like pictures, what you've been able to do for a long time in Google Photos, to say like I'm looking for the one time I took the boat but it was snowing, and then I never remember when was that, but you type
Yeah,
that in the search of Google Photos.
that's one of the times I thought, well, I can do that right now.
Yeah, that's one of the many things they announced today are things other apps are able to do, and they're just folding
No, I
it
can't
in the
do it in
OS.
I can't do it in Apple Photos today. I can't search for photos with those keywords. So how is that different?
I guess they
Anyway.
sprinkled more AI on top of it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Like I said, I thought the best part of the presentation was about AirPods and AirPods Pro. I think it's an incredible product. I mean, I tested a dozen or so headphones and mics over the last few weeks, and I just can't find one that is a better overall package than AirPods Pro 2, which is really impressive. And this is a 2-year-old product. You know, it's cheaper. It's a lot more portable. I just need a better mic, but I also don't want to. Anyway, all right. So nothing else on Apple. Robert, thank you very much for the color on what's to come with Apple Vision Pro 2 next year. Is there going to be an Apple Vision product that is not a Pro? Maybe that's cheaper.
I haven't heard of such a thing yet, but I'll keep my ear out.
Robert, among the people that you know, in and outside or around Apple, has anyone talked about Warren Buffett selling a bunch of its stake?
I've talked to a few people. They see it as just general remixing of his portfolio. He has a very heavy weight on Apple even today after selling so much. Right. My money manager, for instance, hates when a client has more than 5% in any one company. And Warren has a lot more than that. So, you know, I don't read too much into it because he didn't sell at all. He sold off a good chunk of it, but it seems like that kind of managing risk and portfolio management, right?
Okay, got it. Thank you. I mean, I don't know if it's that simple, honestly, because he's like Warren Buffett is not a, an investor that shies away from concentration. Obviously, he never has been, and this was a very major change. It wasn't just selling around the corners. He sold, I think, about half of it, right? And people who follow him closely think that he's going to continue to sell if he hasn't already sold most of his stake in Apple. But that's just a rumor and guess. Okay. All right. Let's talk about it. So I'm guessing there's nothing else in the audience or on the speaker board about the Apple event. All right. Let's discuss OpenAI co-founder Ilya raising $1 billion for safe superintelligence. OpenAI co-founder Ilya Sutskever announced a successful $1 billion funding round. This investment, led by notable investors like Andreessen Horowitz and Sequoia Capital, values SSI at $5 billion. This is a 3-month-old company. The company focuses on developing safe and beneficial AI systems addressing potential risks associated with advanced AI. I thought this was a really interesting piece of news. Safe Superintelligence Inc. This company aims to develop AI systems that are safe and beneficial to society. Michelle and then Sharon.
If any listeners are not AI amateurs, but like really AI wizards, they are hiring. And if you're not able to find where to apply, I think you're not qualified. But if you're able to find your way around the internet of where to apply, they are hiring talent. And I think here we might see in the following months people move around. I'll be scouring the LinkedIn updates of people jumping ship. And it's a great goal that they have, but it's really blurry exactly what they're trying to achieve.
I mean, just the fact that they raised $1 billion on $5 billion valuation after 3 months after being founded with a vague understanding of what they're trying to achieve is, man, we live in interesting times. Sharon?
First of all, congratulations. Great job on raising so much money. I find that interesting. And I think, I don't know, I don't want to be, I don't want to say anything wrong here, but I agree with both of you on that. First of all, super intelligent. We're not even at AGI yet. So what are they actually doing? What is the goal? Those are things that, of course, they say they want to have a line safe super intelligence. Yeah. What does that mean? We're not even there yet. So I just want to say congrats. A lot of money.
Uzi.
So I just posted a link that a Reuters link an article, sorry, messing up, that they said explain their mission. Interestingly, they're a for-profit company, and they said that their aim is to provide computing needs to cloud providers and chip companies. What does that mean? I guess we'll see, but interesting corporate structure compared to OpenAI, which is a non-profit for-profit, and it seems like the beef with Sam Altman with Ilya, you know, is it was a coup, but it became quiet and wiped under the rug, and now it's manifested in a competing organization. So let's see how it pans out. But that website is kind of sad.
Yeah. If you're on YouTube, please let me know what the audio quality is like. Thank you, Uzi. Michelle?
Now it slides exactly on what Yuzi just said, because Sam tweeted 4 hours ago, if you strap a rocket to a dumpster, the dumpster can still get to orbit, and the trash fire will go out as it leaves the atmosphere. Many important insight contained in that observation, but also it's better to launch nice satellites instead. And that's obviously aimed at the money raised today by SSI without naming them, obviously. But the beef level is through the roof.
Yeah. Do you think the fact that Elon is a big Ilya fan played a role here?
Well, yeah, Elon doesn't like being crossed like he was with what happened with Sam and OpenAI, and there was this goal of it being a non-profit, and now this whole spaghetti of contracts and stuff is making it. I don't know how to describe it. I'm at loss for words on how to describe
Yeah,
exactly what OpenAI is now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Elon is fighting a lot of fights simultaneously. You know, he's got the Tesla fight going on against legacy automakers, and Chinese automakers seem to be doing a good job with their electric vehicles. Um, SpaceX is leading by a wide margin, no question about that. Um, he's fighting the fight against Sam Altman, and yeah, and a bunch of others. Those are just the ones we know. You know, Robert, any thoughts on state superintelligence raising $1 billion at a valuation of $5 billion 3 months after being founded?
Crazy money, man. I remember a company here in Palo Alto called Color that raised $41 million, and people were up in arms because that was an outrageous amount of money for a company that has no product or new customers. And now that looks like nothing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, speaking of all the fights that Elon's fighting, he's also fighting Threads, Zuckerberg,
Yep.
X versus Threads. I mean, people are writing Threads off, but they're growing. They have 200 million monthly active users now, on a path to get to a billion, leveraging Instagram and other apps that under Meta's umbrella, like WhatsApp. Um, lots of global presence. You know,
I'm watching it. It's certainly slower here on X, on the AI and tech industry. Maybe politics is going crazy, maybe sports is going crazy, but the tech industry has left. A good chunk of them have left X.
where did they go?
That's an interesting question because some have gone back to LinkedIn, but maybe they just disappear. They're like tired. But I am watching Threads, and it's certainly getting better than it was 3 months ago. So some have
Yeah.
landed on Threads. Some I go through a lot of accounts. I see people advertising Blue Sky and Mastodon and Threads as new places that they're at.
hmm I mean, I was looking at so yesterday. I pinned at the top Google Trends search results. This is worldwide from April 2022, which is when Elon announced um, he's acquiring Twitter. So the blue line is Twitter, red is Threads, yellow is Instagram, green is TikTok. And I was like, wow, that is crazy. Right in the summer of 2023, three lines are started declining pretty materially, including Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I was like, what happened summer of 2023? Because I had written off in my head Threads. I was like, it went up and then it went down. But no, I think it's actually starting to take some share from all of these. I mean, you would, obviously from Instagram because it's mostly people going from Instagram to Threads first. But I think it's having an impact on TikTok and Twitter as well. Michelle?
Well, there's two things. I mean, they're really, really trying to shove Thread down your throat. I never really jumped there. I secured my account so I don't have like an impersonator over there. And I uninstalled it. But like every now and then I get Facebook and I click on something and it jumps to the App Store and wants to reinstall Thread again. I was like, oh, that was a thread that they put in my Facebook feed. The second thing is there's also TikTok Notes, that TikTok is trying to shove down my throat, and it's some sort of thread copy, which is a copy of so it's the copy of the copy, and they try to make it some sort of TikTok based social media, more towards pictures and not really text so far. So it's a really confusing landscape, and everybody's trying to copy everyone.
Uzi.
I think the install base on Threads is, in Meta's direction. I personally don't have Threads. I fundamentally opposed to saying what I believe publicly with my identity revealed. I feel like many people feel that way, especially my generation is a little, and the school I went to is a little left leaning to an extent that people wouldn't like me. So I mean, X is my favorite place to just speak my mind. I think it's a better intellectual community. I think most of the people that lean left are also on Reddit instead of Threads. I mean, I look, I haven't been on the platform, so I can't say, but I'm I think what goes for them is their install base and pushing people over to Threads and making you an account already. Other than that, I don't see why it would thrive except for like a political leaning.
Well, I mean, installed base is a very good reason. But do you need any other reason?
No, I agree. I think it's an install base, and then you can virtue signal or you know whatever it is that's not controversial.
Okay. So you're convinced, Uzi, that Threads will not grow. Is that what you're saying?
It
Well, let me
might-
ask you this way. Do you think Threads will get to 1 billion monthly active users?
Well, I think part of the question is international usage. I'm speaking in terms of like an American from New York. Could it get to hundreds of millions? Possibly.
It's
Um,
already at hundreds of millions. The
it-
question is does it get to 1 billion?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's a coffee bet. Like I said in our interview, I'll pin at the top my interview with Uzi one-on-one. So I have one-on-one interviews, and Robert, I'd love to have you on my YouTube channel as well for a one-on-one interview, so we can dig into these things. And I told Uzi, I said, I see a lot of coffee bets in our future. Here's the link at the top of your screens with my interview with Uzi on Robotaxis and Optimus. Uzi?
Yeah, check the comments for my reply. I'm ready.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Okay, we talked about OpenAI co-founder Ilya raising $1 billion. Like it's amazing. These $1 billion raises going around left and right. Just makes me think the AI bubble hasn't really popped yet, honestly. You know? The fact that they can raise $1 billion so easily. Uzi?
You got me going on Meta. I wanted to also add, I do think Meta or Instagram and Facebook. Facebook has explicitly made a dating part of the profile. I think it's more of a social network than X, where you know more people that you're interacting with on Instagram, and it's more of a dating profile, but not explicitly on Instagram. So
I
Threads.
get a call.
What did you say?
Can you guys hear Uzi?
Yes.
You can? Oh, I can't hear him. All right, I'll be right back.
All right, this is MySpace now.
What do you mean it's more of it? Like, try and rephrase what you're trying to say, because I'm confused even if I was able to hear you.
Oh, interesting. So, I think Facebook had its inception as like what was like Face Match or something like that. Um, the Instagram is mostly a dating profile. I don't know if you're familiar with that line of thinking, but that's where people, sliding into your DMs or swiping up on your story. That's what Instagram is mostly used for. It's a very visual app. about me. Whereas Threads or X is about what you think or believe about the world. I don't think what you believe about the world is too attractive for the most part. But there are communities on Facebook as opposed to Instagram where you can find someone of like interest.
So you feel very strongly about Zuckerberg. Got it. Any other thoughts on Threads, Twitter, OpenAI, Ilya, SSI, Apple event? Anything else on those fronts? Robert, do you think Threads poses a material risk to Twitter?
Not quite yet, but it's heading there. Yes.
Yeah. Sharon?
So I don't use Threads. Does anyone use it? Is anyone on Threads?
I
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. How
Not
often?
often.
Not often? Oh, okay. So you're more on Twitter or more on X
Right.
than on
Right,
Threads?
man. I'm following 23,000 people here in AI. I can't do that on Threads. I can't do that on LinkedIn or Facebook or anywhere else. So
Yeah, that's
it's hard for me to leave.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go. I think there are differences, right? So a threat, the question is in how far? I mean, from user base, maybe, but I mean, I just believe that the quality here on X when it comes to interacting with intellectual people is just there's nothing comparable to this. So yeah, it depends what the perspective is, from what viewpoint we want to compare. From user base, maybe, but this is definitely the place to be.
Okay, so Sharon says if you want to have an intellectual conversation, which is I think similar to what Uzi said as well, then X is place to be, and it's probably going to stay that way for a while. But Robert said earlier that the people that he follows on AI space have been leaving X. Robert, right? Is that basically what you said? Would you like to clarify, elaborate?
The quantity of tweets has gone way down. One of the venture capitalists has actually studied it and says it's down 65%. So a
Yeah.
good number of people have either left the service or have very greatly slowed down their posting rate.
Yeah. Interesting. Can you send that study to the AI amateurs DM group?
I'll have to get it from the venture capitalists and see if
Gotcha.
I can. This was John Borthwick at BetaWorks in New York who told me
Okay.
this.
Interesting. Well,
And
thank you for sharing.
he studies consumer trends pretty closely, and obviously he has a lot of companies, so he has to know where to market these companies, and right.
Thank you. Uzi?
I will also add that Reels, Instagram Reels, I guess TikTok is basically just Reels. A lot of girls in my generation use it. A lot of the guys are on, if they have a girlfriend, they're on TikTok, not using it, but not posting, but using it and sending links to their girlfriend, or Instagram. And then a lot of the guys my generation are on X. I will say that Reels for Instagram, Reels on X, and TikTok, they're completely different than the majority, like I guess the other content where you're just normally scrolling through your For You or your Instagram page, where Instagram, it's depending on what your friends like, and my friends are kind of crazy, so I'll get some crazy videos that have sensitive content on Instagram. Whereas X, you'll still get crazy videos. It's just my friends aren't explicitly. We don't follow each other on this. And then TikTok, that's just pleasure seeking, and their algorithm has you on lock. So the reel is completely different than the majority of content.
Okay, cool. All right. So Uzi doesn't think Threads poses a, let's say, existential risk to X, and Sharon also doesn't think that Threads poses an existential threat to X. And Robert is pointing to some data from a venture capital firm that focuses on tracking consumer trends, specifically about the AI space. And Michelle, what do you think? Do you think Threads poses an existential risk to X?
Not really. It's just sad that we're gonna see some niche be split across platforms. We saw it when Trump was banned, and he created Truth, and he committed to stick there. So all the Trump people are on this app, and all of these other like maybe left leaning, Elon hating people are going to be on Threads and saying it's the best thing ever. But X still has the journalism and the instant content, and I think the strong force. I mean, there's the Meta AI, but it's kind of a model you just ask a question about. You can't ask Meta AI about what's trending on Threads, and we tried together when Grok was fairly new, and then some breaking news happened, and immediately we asked Grok, and he was able to do a quick search and give us a summary. And I mean, it's been much improved since. And having a platform where there's a fire hose of very time sensitive news happening, when something's happening, even in the cybersecurity space, I have another like quiet account that I just follow cybersecurity people on. I jump on that account when a threat or breach is happening, and then it's a little bit like Robert is able to follow the AI world with all of his lists. I'm able to go on that account, refresh, check the notifications, and see what's happening in the cybersecurity space. And these guys are still on X and live. Like if something's happening, minutes later, it's here.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next news item. Google DeepMind unveils Alpha Proteo protein design system. Have you guys heard about this one? Google DeepMind introduced Alpha Proteo, a new protein design system that utilizes AI to predict and design protein structures. This breakthrough could have implications for drug discovery and other fields. Leverages AI to predict and design protein structures. September 5, 2024. Anyone on the speaker board heard about this?
I have, but it's way over my pay grade.
Me too. I feel like it's the first glimpse into AI making novel discoveries and not just being able to spit out back information back at you. But it is still more like from the summary I had read, is they're really throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks kind of method. It's not really refined, or it's not like AI is able to do like a quantum computation and come up with the perfect answer on the first try.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I mean, last week we talked about how we hear all these, headlines, but what does it mean when I go to Rite Aid, CVS? Doesn't mean I'm going to get cheaper prices. Doesn't mean I'm going to get better. Like, when is that going to happen? When will AI go mass market? When will AI and humanoids become mainstream for the average Joe? That still seems far distant future, unless somebody wants to tell me otherwise on the speaker board. Sharon?
I'm just wondering, DeepMind is probably not giving any information whatsoever out about that, but predicting based on what? Based on past data? That those are questions that I would have, but I bet they're not giving any information out on that because it's
Well,
hardly. Go ahead.
Let's see more about this. Alpha Preto is a cutting-edge AI system developed by Google DeepMind designed to predict and generate novel proteins with desired binding properties. It leverages the power of deep learning and structural biology to tackle the complex task of protein design. Alpha Proteo is trained on massive data sets of protein sequences and structures, including those predicted by AlphaFold. By learning from these intricate patterns, Alpha Proteo can generate a new protein design to bind specifically to target molecules. It essentially predicts the 3D structure of these proteins and evaluates their potential for successful binding interactions. Key features and capabilities are the following. Novel protein generation. Alpha Proteo can design completely new proteins that bind effectively to target molecules, even for challenging targets like VEGF-A, which has implications for cancer and diabetes research. 2. High binding success rates. The system exhibits impressive binding success rates in experimental validation, surpassing those of existing design methods. Okay. 3. Broad target range. Alpha Proteo can design binders for a diverse set of target proteins involved in various diseases, including cancer, inflammation, autoimmune disorders, and viral infections. 4. Potential applications. The technology holds immense promise for various fields, including drug discovery, disease research, and development of diagnostic tools and biosensors. Accelerating drug discovery, advancing biological research, promoting sustainability. Yeah, shows great promise, but I don't know, a lot of sizzle. Sharon?
I just have a feeling that predict is the wrong word there. I might be wrong, because it's what Michelle said. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall and just getting something interesting out. I don't know if that has anything to do with predicting, but it's super interesting. And I think further research is definitely needed, because predicting to then moving to something real that works, I think there's a long way to go.
Well, we have the man on the board. Rich Bira is very experienced in this field, and he's very curious and follow this field. So let's see what he has to say. Rich?
Hey everybody, I'm just joining like 5 minutes ago. I'm not experienced in AlphaFold and the AI, the AI use cases and discovery. But I could give a little bit of background just because I did research into this, and I could kind of simplify what this means for us all in the
All right, just
future.
1 second. When you say you've done research into this, what is this?
Well, so my father recently passed away from cancer, and he had a very rare form of a blood-borne cancer. And when they came out with specialized treatment, it's called immunotherapy for treating cancer. Instead of doing chemo, you do kind of targeted um, to get at those bad cells within his body, but it's still a hit or miss. So they went through a lot of different, well, maybe this will work, well, maybe this will work. And what's happening with AlphaFold 3 is that they're eventually going to be able to understand your RNA in your DNA R, and be able to match that protein creation to like create custom drugs that would work based on my, like, for example, my dad's DNA. And so like we all eventually will be able to have personalized, vaccines. That's the ultimate goal. And
Okay.
I listened
Now,
to the guy.
thank you very much. But again, like the reason why I asked this is because you mentioned when you first jumped up AlphaFold. This is not AlphaFold. This is Alpha Proteo. Okay, so here are the
Right.
differences. Excuse
Okay.
me. Here are the differences between the two. AlphaFold primary function predicts the 3D structure of proteins from their amino acid sequence. Alpha Proteo designs new proteins with desired binding properties. I'm going to copy paste this table right here. Key differences between AlphaFold and Alpha Proteo, and posted at the top of your screens. Yeah, this is why we have this space. I want to build a knowledge of these things at a deeper level, not an average person's level. So we want to go from AI amateurs to AI experts. And so we need to get all the names, the technicalities correct. Input into AlphaFold is amino acid sequence of a protein. Input into AlphaProteo is target molecule and desired binding characteristics. AlphaFold output, predicted 3D structure of the protein. AlphaProteo output, amino acid sequence of a new protein designed to bind to the target. Underlying technology for AlphaFold is deep learning models trained on vast protein sequence and structure data. Underlying technology for AlphaProteo is deep learning models trained on protein sequences, structures, binding data, building upon AlphaFold's capabilities. Applications for AlphaFold are understanding protein function, drug discovery, and basic biological research. Whereas for AlphaProteo, drug discovery, disease research, diagnostic tools, biosensors, and sustainable manufacturing are both developed by DeepMind. AlphaFold is like a powerful translator that deciphers the language of amino acid sequences into 3D language of protein structures. AlphaProteo is like an architect that designs new protein structures with specific functions in mind, building upon the foundational understanding of protein folding provided by AlphaFold. Interesting. Both AlphaFold and AlphaProteo are groundbreaking AI systems developed by DeepMind that have the potential to revolutionize the field of protein science. AlphaFold focuses on predicting existing protein structures, while AlphaProteo focuses on designing new proteins with specific properties. Interesting. AlphaProteo leverages the knowledge gained from AlphaFold to generate novel proteins with desired binding capabilities. Michelle, does that make all sense to you?
Yes,
AlphaFold is a
I don't want
translator,
to be
AlphaProteo
too
is an
much.
architect.
Yeah, I don't want to be too much Derek or like too bad mouthing saying they're throwing spaghetti at the wall. I think I want to retract this because these guys are working really hard, and this thing is predicting, like it's conceptualizing a protein, and it's predicting that it's gonna work. And then if they go in a lab and then follow the instruction that the architect came up with, and they do it, they validated that it worked as predicted. So that's what they meant by predicting that Sharon was talking earlier. And yeah, it's really amazing stuff, and it's more and more very large model, but our narrow focus, because this field has like tremendous amount of data, and that's what an LLM slash AI is able to work with. And it's not surprising that it's Google that specialized in working with huge context windows that trained this specific model for protein folding. But there are, I think, other areas of expertise where um, very large model or models that are able to deal with a humongous amount of data are going to be able to make these architecture suggestions, or novel proteins, but the equivalent for like other fields are coming soon.
Okay. I mean, one criticism about AI is that it leverages what humans invented, what humans thought creatively, and doesn't really invent anything on its own. So I'm always looking for, you know, turns in the AI field that indicate maybe AI is starting to uh, innovate, go beyond human knowledge. So in that light, I think AlphaProteo can be maybe a significant milestone. So I'm going to think more about this, and we're going to read more about it, and then maybe we can talk about it more next Monday. I like this continuity on AI amateurs space. All right, let's switch topics. I mean, I don't want to bring too much Tesla stuff into this space, but yeah, we'll just leave that to TSL Live, Tesla Live. Anything else from the speaker board? Anything that we need to discuss that happened this week in the AI field? Sharon?
Does anyone have any information on the Reflections 70B drama that has happened this week? Matt Schumer, does anyone know anything about that?
I don't. Anyone else?
Well, it seems to be the case that Matt Schumer, CEO of HyperWrite AI and Otherside AI, he published a model onto Hugging Face and claimed that it reached higher scores in various benchmarks. So it seems to have a reflection tuning so that the LLM can kind of correct itself, that it reflects on its responses and corrects. But something obviously went wrong. I think they wanted to bring the weights out and something didn't work well, so everybody's calling it a scam now. It's yet to be seen. It's not clear yet that it is, but this person obviously messed up and no one believes him anymore. So experts, there are many people in the field that are saying, calling him out, that he just wanted to get followers and so on. But it's still in the works, so we'll see what will happen. Robert is not here anymore, so I guess he would probably be the only one that knows anything about it. But that's just super interesting. If we have LLMs that could
Okay.
correct themselves, that would be interesting. Definitely.
All right, great. Yeah, I hopped on Hugging Face before hopping here and checked the rankings, and there doesn't seem to be much of a change from day to day to week on those rankings. So ChatGPT 4.0 is still top. Gemini second, sharing the spot with Grok, and not much of a movement. Michelle?
I mean, that slides into like prompt engineering, because if you prompt your LLM to do multiple steps, like to do like a very basic prompt would be to ask it to think out loud or brainstorm, then come up with the results instead of trying to answer immediately. You do get better results. So like the claims that this guy was making about 70B, being able to do that on its own somehow, it's like we'll have more clarity next week. Maybe we follow up on it because it's really fresh and still developing story. But that's something you can ask here any existing LLM to do, and it has a positive impact on your results, even if it's a single conversation without doing all of my crazy multiple conversation stuff I talked about last week.
All right. Kelly?
Oh, hey guys, thanks for bringing me up. I just wanted to address Sharon. Yes, I haven't had a chance to read through everything about the model, but I know someone who is actually going to look into it further. So I posted it in the Xbox, if that's okay. It just says he's doubling down and going to get to the bottom of it. So wanted to just give you a heads up on that.
Okay. Sharon?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I'm aware of that. That's Niston. Yeah, Michelle, the thing is that they do still, when you do coding and stuff with AIs, they do create a loop sometimes and you can't get them back out. So that makes a lot of sense what you said. But when it comes to certain things, sometimes they just stop. So for maybe normal conversations, that might be the case. But this is really going deeper when it comes to coding and all of these things and agentic workflows. I think that's very important to get a little bit deeper into that. But prompting will definitely help for sure.
Okay, great. Next, Michelle, I've seen people talk about Claude Opus, expected to be the most powerful model in the series, offering enhanced capabilities compared to its peer. Have you ever heard about Claude 3.5 Opus?
Yes, other people that signs NDAs are red teaming it right now. So that's why we start to hear the rumors and the noise. That means training is complete, and I mean internal red teaming, which is like trying to make it do horrible things it's not supposed to do before they release it to the public. And then depending on how that goes, it could be weeks, it could be months, because we heard about GPT-5 finished training back in spring, and then obviously red teaming it did not go well because it's still not out. So we could be facing a similar situation that we think it's very soon, because some people that are under non-disclosure agreements have access to it, and it's amazing, but unless they can make it somehow safe, they can't release something that gives you a recipe for a bomb anytime you're trying to just strong arm it into it.
Okay. According to Gemini, as of September 9, here's what we know about Claude 3.5 Opus based on official announcement information from Anthropic. Most intelligent model. Claude 3.5 Opus's position as the most intelligent model in the Claude 3.5 family, surpassing its peers on common evaluation benchmarks. It's designed to excel at complex tasks, demonstrating remarkably fluency and human-like understanding, even with open-ended prompts and sight-unseen scenarios. It outperforms other models on benchmarks like MMLU, GPQA, GSM-8K, and more. Capabilities: advanced reasoning and logic, expected to handle intricate cognitive tasks beyond pattern recognition and text generation. Enhanced language understanding, anticipated to show improvements in comprehending and generating natural language. Content creation, capable of producing high quality content with nuanced understanding and a natural tone. Coding proficiency, these are just, I don't know. This is just, So I'm trying to see if there's anything groundbreaking here. Michelle, what do you think is the most impressive thing about Opus that you might have heard?
You're putting me in a difficult situation.
Yeah, you don't
But
have to. You don't have to say. You can just say I can't answer the question. It's totally fine. It's totally fine. You
but
don't
I
have to
mean,
answer. I don't want
it's
you to.
it's
This is
always
recorded.
always
I don't
very
want to.
basic when they say it's better, and then like when GPT-4 was about to come out, people were like, "It's amazingly better." But I don't think it's such a step between 3 and 4. I think like there's a linear graph I've seen where the amount of computing power you use to train the model is directly related to how powerful it is. And now to get something better than GPT-4, you need something that took 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times more training compute to train. So it's like it's really exponential. It starts to be really costly. So if they made a slight improvement, it's gonna be noticeable. But to really have a groundbreakingly like super awesome model, it's gonna require much more compute power.
Okay. Anthropic primarily uses AWS for their training compute needs. They leverage a combination of AWS's powerful infrastructure and specialized AI chips, including Trainium and Inferentia. Okay. Okay. So OpenAI is using Microsoft. These guys are using AWS. XAI has got its own training compute now up and running. So it's a race. I guess we'll see. All right. Any other news? Anything else? White paper dispels fears of AI-induced job losses. Have you guys heard about this white paper? Anybody? Okay. Uzi, I saw you hand your hand up about something else. I'm guessing. What's up?
Yeah, keeping up with the Elon talk. He mentioned a brief update on Optimus. The Humanoid Hub covered it, so I shared it in the comments. but it was just most of what we were talking about in our conversation yesterday.
Okay, yeah, I'll watch that later, and then we'll talk about it in Tesla Live tomorrow. White paper AI induced job losses. Let's see. Title. The exact title of the you saw refer to general white paper. Okay. Substantial argument. The white paper contests the prevalent fear that AI will lead to massive unemployment. Blah blah blah. Historical precedent. AI is a tool. New job creation. Skill shift. Collaboration. Yeah, doesn't seem anything earth breaking here. Or groundbreaking, earth shattering. I'll find this white paper, send it to the AI amateurs DM group, and see if there's anything we need to discuss next Monday. All right. This space has been going on for an hour and 20 minutes. Anything else we need to discuss in detail? Anything on your radars? Michelle?
I mean, a translator friend of mine is now working alone because his company doesn't exist anymore. So he still does contracts and leverages AI, of course, and then he supervises what the output came out of it, out of the translation, makes a few suggestion modifications. But I mean, he used to work for a company that was specialized at translating, and they folded last month. And now he's doing like contract works, so he's not out of a job yet. But the company was just like they can't keep up, rent an office and all of that with remote work and everything. So they're mostly going independent, and that was like one of the first people to fold. Like a LLMs are super good at doing really good translation and really accurate translation, and even translation that is perfectly aimed at the language level you're trying. Like, are you translating for high school kids? Are you translating for engineers? And it's able to fine tune the translation it does. So at least there are jobs shifting in some areas, and the one that's closer to the one I work with is quality insurance of call centers. Is it used to be that quality insurance was gonna listen to a few random calls, and then if they had comment or coaching opportunities for you in the call center, they take you apart and said, hey, I listened to this call, you did this and that. But now you can transcribe everyone's calls to text and then query it, or trying to extract ask it questions, and then when did the customer got upset, or when did a particular situation came up, and querying this whole transcription of every call in the call center is able to give them much more qual. So like they don't need 5 or 8 quality insurance people for a 200 people call center. They need just one.
Okay. Thank you. Um, so I host obviously different spaces. I have Tesla Live, I have AI amateurs. I also have an account macro analyst, the co-host, who follows macro news. And one thing that this allows me to do is to see the connecting points between them, among them. And um, one thing that came up on the macro front last month. So this is um, July, August data. Job cuts announcements in the tech space surged last month. Job cut announcements in tech companies surged last month, comprising more than half of job cut announcements across the country, across any industry. And there are 11 sectors. One of them, tech, comprised more than half, majority of job cut announcements last month. So if AI were to have an impact on jobs, it would obviously first appear in the tech sector. And this might be one of those moments. So I'm keeping my eye on this trend. Um, Going forward, we'll see. Uzi?
If there is any organization that is able to automate parts of their operations seamlessly, and that's part of my job is automating people's roles. I'm using Power Automate. Tech companies can do that. So if you're, Microsoft especially, I've heard that they've already started doing this. So that's probably just, part of the cause of those job losses is that if you can, one stipulation I'll add in is if the foundations of your operations, that rhymes, but yeah, if you have good structural foundations to your workflow, then automating it is seamless. But if it's broken, and your automation will multiply the errors too. So tech companies are predisposed to be successful in that. I assume maybe the next one will be banking.
Okay. Interesting. Michelle, any thoughts, any comments around job cuts in the tech sector surging?
Well, it's felt. The network. Some guys are looking. And in my circle of IT people, we deal with offboarding and all of that. So it is something that is true from the ground, both from your macro data and from the field. And I think with what just Uzi just said, accounting is the next domino to fall. I've seen really amazing product demos that I was advising on, and what's coming in accounting can transform. Like a medium-sized company to have 5 accountants can be run by a single person that just oversees everything. And if you have like instead of having 5, 6 people double check everything, you could have a really automated process and then something that just flags the weird odd one outs and then is able to mass process everything else that's normal. And that's coming very soon.
Okay. Can you put parameters on very soon? What do you mean? Months, quarters, years? What's very soon?
It's always as fast as the businesses are moving. If you have fast movers, and there's a restaurant chain here, they're super fast movers. They jumped on the new stuff right away. 2 quarters, they're going to be live with this vendor. If a business is in the hospitality industry and they're just moving out of Windows 7 now, I mean, that's not going to be in 2 quarters. It's going to be in 2, 3 years that they're going to be able to catch up. So that's the two extremes. But globally, that means a year, maybe a year and a half before you have a significant portion of the industry moving to those really automated
Okay.
ERPs
So you're
in
telling me
accounting.
sometime next year, we're going to have an oversupply of accountants. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I would do a coffee bet on that.
Okay. Yeah, that is a coffee bet for sure. And we can maybe look at the average salary paid for an accountant. If it's going down, you win. If it's stable or going up, I win.
Oh, but I have a pushback because some of them not very good are just gonna change jobs, and the one remainings are gonna be producing so much and valued so much that the average salary might go up. So that's not the perfect metric to measure it.
Okay. I'll find a way to design this coffee bet. But yeah, I just don't. I mean, I think we have an over. Um, I would be shocked if it happened in the next year, in the next 3 years, let alone next year or 5 years. But Uzi,
Isn't there also an accountant shortage? I'm liking Yaman's odds here.
yeah, yeah, there was a massive accounting shortage. I don't know if it still exists, but when I was an accountant many decades ago or many years ago, there was a massive shortage. Yeah, they were kind of claiming from other industries to make people accountants. All right, couple other items. AI news. US, Britain, and the EU are preparing to sign the first international AI treaty aimed at regulating AI development and use. OpenAI and Anthropic have agreed to allow US AI Safety Institute to test their AI models before public release, prioritizing safety measures. That's something to dig into later. Researchers have developed a new training technique designed to reduce social biases in AI systems, addressing concerns about fairness and discrimination. These all headlines from last week. And moving fast. This industry is moving fast. But we are at the 1 hour and 30-minute mark. Anything else on your radars? Otherwise, we're going to call it a day and continue in Tesla Live tomorrow and AI Amateurs next Monday. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. And I will chat with you next time. Take care.